Daniel Harper always believed blood could never betray blood. That lie died the moment my granddaughter, Emma, showed up at my front door after midnight, shaking so badly she could barely stand. Rain soaked her clothes. Her face was pale, and before I could even ask what happened, she grabbed my arm and whispered, "Grandpa, don't trust Dad." Then she pushed a bundle of old letters into my hands, like they were dangerous enough to burn the house down. I remember the way her fingers trembled. I remember the fear in her eyes. And I remember realizing at 71 years old that whatever was inside those envelopes had terrified her more than the storm outside. If you enjoy real emotional stories like this, subscribe now because some truths don't stay buried forever. And this one destroyed my family in a single night. I locked the door behind Emma and led her into the kitchen. She kept looking out the window like someone had followed her. I poured coffee for both of us, even though her hands were too unsteady to hold the cup. The letters looked old. Yellow edges, faded ink. My name wasn't on them, so my son Michael's name was. Every envelope had been hidden for decades. Emma told me she found them inside an old metal box in her father's garage while looking for Christmas decorations. At first, she thought they were just family papers. Then she started reading. After that, she drove straight to my house. I opened the first letter carefully. The handwriting belonged to my late wife, Margaret. My chest tightened instantly. She had been gone for 12 years, but I knew every curve of her writing like it was carved into my memory. The letter was addressed to someone named Thomas Reed. Not me, never me. My eyes moved slower with every sentence. "I can't keep lying to Daniel forever," she wrote. "Michael deserves to know who his real father is." I stopped breathing for a second. Emma watched my face collapse in real time. She started crying harder, apologizing over and over, but I couldn't hear her anymore. My ears rang like church bells. For 46 years, I believed Michael was my son. I raised him, taught him baseball, sat beside hospital beds when he broke his arm at 13, worked overtime to pay his college tuition. And now, in one sentence written decades ago, my entire life cracked open. But that wasn't even the worst part. There were more letters, dozens of them. Some from Margaret, some from Thomas. They talked about secret meetings while I worked night shifts at the steel plant. They talked about guilt, fear, plans to eventually tell me the truth. But they never did. One letter made my stomach turn cold. Thomas wrote, "Michael is starting to look exactly like me. Daniel will notice someday." I felt humiliated reading words never meant for my eyes. Emma finally spoke again. She said her father found the letters missing earlier that evening. He became furious instantly, started screaming at her mother. Then he realized Emma had taken them. That's when she ran. I asked her one question. "Does Michael know?" She nodded slowly. "He's known for years, Grandpa. That hurt more than the affair itself. My own son, or the man I thought was my son, had carried this secret while looking me in the eyes every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner." Suddenly, old memories changed shape in my mind. Times Michael acted distant. Times he avoided family conversations. Times Margaret cried late at night thinking I was asleep. The truth had been sitting beside me for decades wearing a friendly face. I wanted to believe there was some mistake, some misunderstanding. But deep down, I already knew the letters were real. Emma begged me not to confront Michael alone. She said he had become angry and unpredictable since finding out Thomas left him money in his will. Money nobody told me about. My chest burned hearing that. Not because of the money, but because my entire family had protected a lie while I lived inside it like a fool. Around 2 in the morning, headlights appeared outside my house. Emma froze instantly. Michael stepped out of his truck and walked toward the front porch. I hadn't seen him look that furious since he was a teenager. He pounded on the door hard enough to shake the walls. "Dad, open the damn door." Emma grabbed my sleeve, terrified. But something inside me had already changed forever. I opened the door slowly and stared at the man I spent my whole life calling son. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then his eyes dropped to the letters in my hand, and everything exploded. Michael pushed past me the second. The door opened fully. Rainwater dripped from his jacket onto my wooden floor, but he didn't care. His eyes locked onto the stack of letters sitting on my kitchen table like they were loaded weapons. Emma stayed behind me, gripping my shoulder so tightly her nails dug into my skin. I had never seen my granddaughter afraid of her own father before that night. And, honestly, that terrified me more than the letters themselves. Michael's voice came out rough and angry. "You had no right to take those, Emma." She immediately burst into tears again, but this time she didn't back down. "He deserved to know," she shouted. Hearing those words inside my house felt like somebody smashing glass beside my ears. Michael looked at me then. Really looked at me. Not like a son looking at his father. More like a man staring at a problem he could no longer control. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then I asked the question that had been burning through my chest all night. "How long have you known?" Michael rubbed both hands over his face and turned away from me. That silence gave me my answer before he even spoke. "Since Mom got sick," he muttered quietly. My knees nearly gave out. Margaret had been diagnosed with cancer 14 years earlier. 14 years. 14 birthdays. 14 Christmas dinners, sitting across from me, pretending everything was normal, while carrying a secret big enough to destroy my entire life. I stared at him in disbelief. "You knew while I was taking care of her?" My voice cracked harder than I expected. "You watched me hold her hand in that hospital, knowing she betrayed me?" Michael slammed his fist against the counter suddenly. "Because she was terrified, okay? She wanted to tell you 1,000 times." His words echoed through the kitchen. But every year that passed made it worse. I laughed then, not because anything was funny. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when pain gets too heavy for your body to carry normally. "Worse for who?" I asked quietly. "Certainly not for me. I was the idiot loving all of you without knowing the truth." Emma whispered, "Grandpa?" But I raised my hand gently. I couldn't stop now. Too many memories were crashing through my mind. Teaching Michael to drive. Watching him marry Sarah. Holding Emma in the hospital the day she was born. Were those memories fake now? Did blood erase 46 years of love? I didn't know anymore. Michael finally looked directly at me. His eyes were red, but not just from anger. Shame lived there too. "Thomas contacted me before he died," he admitted. "That's when I found out everything." He swallowed hard before continuing. "Mom begged him to stay away from us after she chose you. She loved you, Dad. Don't call me that right now." The words came out colder than ice. Michael looked like I slapped him. The room went dead silent after that. Rain tapped against the windows, while the clock above the stove ticked louder than ever before. Emma sat down at the table, crying quietly into her sleeves. Michael stood frozen near the doorway like he didn't know whether to leave or stay. And I realized something awful in that moment. I wasn't just angry at Margaret anymore. I was angry at myself for never seeing any of it. Then Michael said something that changed the entire night again. "There's more you don't know." Those 6 words hit me harder than the first letter. He walked slowly toward the kitchen table and pulled one envelope from the pile. Unlike the others, this one had never been opened. My name was written across the front in Margaret's handwriting. My fingers started shaking before I even touched it. "She wrote that 3 days before she died," Michael said softly. She made me promise to give it to you after the funeral. He paused, guilt spreading across his face. But I couldn't do it. I stared at the envelope like it might explode. Part of me wanted to throw it straight into the fireplace without reading a single word. But another part of me needed answers more than air itself. Slowly, I opened it. Inside was a single folded page. The first sentence nearly stopped my heart. Daniel, if you are reading this, it means I finally ran out of time before finding the courage to tell you the truth myself. My chest tightened so hard. I thought I might collapse right there. Margaret admitted everything in the letter. The affair, the lies, the fear. But halfway through reading, my eyes caught one sentence that made my entire body go numb. Michael is not the only secret I kept from you. I looked up instantly. Michael lowered his eyes to the floor. Emma stopped crying and stared at her father in confusion. And for the first time that night, I realized this family betrayal went even deeper than I imagined.